One, two. Okay. Hey, Jaime.
Hi there, Gio.
How's it going? How's your weekend going?
It's going. It's a early start for me. I washed my truck this morning and I had to get it clean after a long travel to last week's Region One's technology conference for the, I believe, 31st or 30th anniversary for them. So the truck was very dirty, so I had to clean it. So that's my morning right there.
Okay. Before I start into the questions, would you like to introduce our viewers where you work and your title?
Yeah, so my name is Jaime Cortez. Where I work right now is the UTRGV here for South Texas, right? And I work for the ISO department, Information Security Office, and been there with them for about, I would say, 7 months or so. Prior before then, I used to work in different other areas or other higher ed locations, here in the Valley as well, private sector, and also local government, right? So I've been in technology for the past uh, my gosh, I'm already forgetting a number, maybe close to 10 years at this point, and most of it has been in the realm of cybersecurity. And I'm diving more into governance and policies, procedures, and compliancy, right? Versus all my other years of experience has been more of a technical experience, but all that carries with me to where I am at today. So that's a little introduction. And of course, on that journey, right, getting degrees and getting certifications has been a larger priority back then, just to get myself in a position in which I could take on more roles or more responsibilities based off certain certifications and certain knowledge, right? So that's kind of how my journey is. And I'm taking a break. I haven't, chosen a certification until recently. I had a feeling it was going to be the CISM, Certified Information Security Manager, will be my most likely the next cert I'll be pursuing. But so yeah, that's kind of where I am at right now.
Awesome. And just to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing, I'm trying to do like a YouTube series interviewing some of the locals and maybe out of state or nationally, if I can, right? Just to kind of educate the public in technology and, what better way to get started than with cybersecurity, right?
Yeah,
Just to
definitely.
make people aware to stay safe online. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I know I had sent you over some questions I would like to ask. So let me ask number one. So, Jaime, what's the biggest cyber threat individuals and small businesses should be most aware of right now?
I think to answer that question, it's always going to be phishing. That is what I mean by phishing, right? That's a way of an attacker is using your email to perform malicious intent, right? They send you a spam. Phishing is what it's called here in the cybersecurity world, where they're trying to manipulate you to click on a link, maybe provide credentials, maybe provide documents, money, maybe something. Because data is everything, right? Data is essential for all purposes of what we do. I think our data that we own is crucial to us versus the other party. They don't, but they see it as an opportunity, right? As they know that your data is essential to yourself, therefore they want to take it from you, use it, sell it, and profit off of it, right? So I think the biggest vector or the biggest sector in which a people should be aware of is going to be your email, right? Making sure that you protect yourself from not only people getting entry or access to your email, so having, and we'll talk about some ways to safeguard yourself. I believe that's one of your questions later on. But email is, and this goes for individuals and small businesses, where your biggest cyber threat at this current time will always going to be your email. And with that alone, right, they could send you malicious attachments or again, URLs or links that will take you another step, leading you to download malicious files, right? Ransomware, Trojans, rats, things of that nature. But you got to let them in somehow, right? Whether it be through a USB, but the biggest way, the easiest way, because sometimes these companies or even your email is advertised or sold out there, right? And when it comes to small businesses, they may have a directory for their what they serve, right? Or they want to make sure that people get in contact with their employees, and they have a directory publicly where I could go as an attacker, do reconnaissance, pull that directory out, and see that person's email, my target, and I could send them something, right? And hopefully the intent there of the malicious person is trying to manipulate you to click on something and trust, right? And I believe it's still today, email will be the biggest threat in terms of cybersecurity. And of course, it goes beyond that, right? Like you click a link, you download ransomware. Now we're talking about ransomware. But truly, how did they get in? Most likely it was through an email.
Wow, what a handful of that information. I'm surprised to hear all that, and I'm glad that we're getting it out there right now and letting everybody know, hey, this is some of this stuff you have to kind of look out for. So thank you, Jaime. Let me
Yeah.
go ahead and move on to the second question. What's the single most effective thing a beginner can do to improve their personal cybersecurity?
I think like going back to my early days in getting the realms in cybersecurity, right? One of the major things that I was doing for myself was getting certifications, getting knowledge, getting hands-on experience, especially that if you get hands-on experience, fantastic. Whether you're going to be a work study for maybe in higher ed or possibly even an intern, right, for a location you're choosing to intern with, right? I think hands-on experience is one thing, but also take advantage of what's available right now in terms of certifications because sometimes you could have you might want to get the most best cybersecurity job in the world, but I believe in order to get to that part, you have to start from the beginning, right? And I say this quite a bit to people is that cybersecurity is not just cybersecurity. It's everything else that builds upon what is called IT, networking, servers, applications, databases, management, all those things, all those little tiers, right? Is what I like to believe is what builds cybersecurity as what we know and love today. So I think really starting from the beginning and learning those fundamentals in technology, right? And eh, like for me, CompTIA A plus is where I started. You know, of course, I was already getting hands on at that employer at the current time, and I believe you should start at the beginning. Is kind of what I'm trying to say is work your way up towards cybersecurity. That way, you can understand how everything is built upon it. Because if you don't know how computers work, especially the networking part. Networking alone is a huge chunk of cybersecurity because if there is no network, there's nothing needing to be protected, right? So in order to prove your personal like cybersecurity perspective, start from the beginning, learn those basic concepts, whether it be through a book, videos, or even your own personal hands-on experience. What I personally did was I purchased a rack, 24U is what they call it. So I had some space to put some equipment in there and put some firewalls, put some networking switches in it. My personal time where I could get more familiar with certain software or technologies. And so it's about investing your time at the beginning because as we grow or get older, more responsibilities come our way and our time gets allocated elsewhere. So I think you should start, or people should start looking at that perspective is not just cybersecurity, it's everything that builds upon it, which is considered to be what I like to call IT in this case, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. Start there, get the certifications, get the understanding of those fundamentals, especially the networking piece, right? And build towards cybersecurity. Just don't go straight to cybersecurity because you might be very lost. Like, okay, what are these concepts? What are these acronyms mean? What does this mean? You're gonna ask a lot more questions and be more confused. Yes, you get a better grasp of it eventually, but I'd like to say you might have a better experience getting there if you start from the beginning and work your way up towards a cybersecurity role. And again, for me personally, my first biggest IT job was a IT technician, and I saw it from the ground up. And I eventually went to servers. Then from servers, I went to cybersecurity, and ever since then, I stayed in cybersecurity. And again, just learn those and grasp those concepts that make IT overall. Then all that will come with you when you get into the cybersecurity profession.
Wow, thank you for that, Jaime. I appreciate it. That's some really nice insight right there. And I'm trying to stay quiet as much as I can because, like I said, I want to educate the public. So thank you for that. So let's go ahead
And
and move on
yeah,
to question
On a-
number three.
on number two, really quickly, just to let everyone know here, take advantage of videos such as you might find them on LinkedIn, YouTube, or even Udemy.com. Take advantage of that. Those are some sources that are pretty great in terms of just getting I guess some a location to study, right? I mean, sometimes we might be lost, you know, there's books out there, but instructors can go a long way. So take advantage of those videos that are pre-recorded. Apologies, Gio. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Jaime, for adding that little snippet. I appreciate it. This is going to help out the public for sure. So question number three. Beyond strong passwords, what other simple habits can people adopt to protect themselves online?
Yeah, no, I actually like that question because I do this on a daily. There probably was a time when I did not do this, and which I'll let everyone know is there's a saying that I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes in regards to a toothbrush, right? It's called use it once or use it for one user and don't share it. Same concept here applies to your passwords. You use it once, but don't like share it or use it more than once in other locations, right? What I'm trying to say is use a single password for an account you create online. For example, Facebook and X, Instagram, all those websites, you want to make sure you have three different passwords across each. Unless you're using a single sign-on, which allows you to use the same password over and over again, which I'll also mention something here in a moment. But let's going back to the idea of passwords alone is there's a lot of accounts, there's a lot of services out there, software as a service, websites, whatever, right? Like in terms of you could buy Amazon stuff, you could buy stuff on Costco, etc. Each of those things require an account. You don't want to have the same password across the board across all those accounts because if one of those uh, sections get compromised, right? Let's say the company unfortunately gets compromised. Not saying any of those companies that I mentioned will get compromised, but if one of them does, and that password is juggled multiple times across all other accounts, then what's going to happen? That attacker could pivot at that point, right? They'll pivot to other sites in which they might think you might have an account with, and they can sign in easily. Why? Because the password is the same one. So juggling multiple passwords across all your websites is a very great habit to do. And of course, these you might be asking yourself, well, how am I going to manage like 100 accounts and 100 passwords? That's crazy. Well, there's things called password managers, such as 1Password, and there's other ones. But me personally, I use 1Password, and it helps you create an account, manage it there. They it takes the frustration out of like, okay, what password do I should I make? It makes it for you. It saves it there for you, and you just right click copy and you paste it into your account. And of course, it's always different passwords across all those accounts. So therefore, you're juggling multiple passwords, right? Because it's going to be very essential. It makes it harder for the attacker, right? And it makes it more safer for you, just in case, let's say you do have a weak password, unfortunately, and you have that weak password across all your accounts. One account gets compromised. How are you gonna feel like, oh, they know my password. Let me start changing it. So now you have to do a lot more work in beginning to go to all your websites and change your password because you know it's been compromised, right? It's in the dark web already. So start doing that now. Take your time. Take some time out of your day, get all your accounts in a spreadsheet and start looking for a password manager. Me personally, 1Password is what I like to use. I do typically stay away from the free versions that are out there. That just that's just my preference. 1Password is a paid thing. I'm not a sponsor with them, but it's just a great tool to use, in my opinion, right? Another thing regarding your question for number three here, like how can people be better protecting themselves when it comes to just being online in general, and having accounts? I believe that's going to be multi-factor authentication, having a second form of authentication. In this case, you have a password and you have a username, right? You're authenticated, you're in. I know it might be a bit more challenging for some people because you're going to get a prompt, whether it be a text message, a phone call, an email, to authenticate yourself into the application with another form of a push, right? A prompt of some sort. So once you get used to it, right, you're gonna understand that if your password does get compromised, you have another fail safe in place where they must have your device. They must have your phone, they must have your device to approve that prompt to get into your account, right? So that's what I will leave you with for that question is having a password manager to have multiple, not have to worry about remembering all these passwords, right? And please, it's best not to save your passwords on your browser, where it says, "Hey, remember my credentials?" Yes, save. I highly do not recommend that. There is a way to extract that out very easily, and where I can see it in clear text, right? So that's something that I'll leave with that. And plus, two, having MFA is, I think, essential nowadays. Like it's a must, especially if you have a bank account that allows MFA, enable it, right? And you could just be more safer at that point.
Yes, multi-factor authentication. Thank you, Hyman. Yes, that's all good, strong points. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be getting this out again. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but we just have to be safe out there. Moving on to question number four. How do you stay updated with the constantly evolving cyber threats and technologies?
I think like sources such as like LinkedIn is where I always go back to, and also your contacts you have there. If you start connecting on LinkedIn with similar uh, personnel that are there that are in the realm of your study or field, in this case, cybersecurity, you'll be lucky enough to see what they post in terms of trends or things that are happening even locally. You can also look at the news, right? What's happening in the news. But I think LinkedIn will be a great source of staying constantly updated in the forever changing threat landscape in the realms of cybersecurity. Another thing there, YouTube is another great source, right? And like for example, one of the newer technologies coming up is quantum computing, which is a something that I don't know if we're ready for in the terms of the realms of cybersecurity, but that's a new thing that's coming up. Ransomware, things like that's never changing. But I think staying up to date, whether it be through the news channels or a news source, something local or something more larger, and LinkedIn is one of them where you could actually link up with other professionals in the realm of cybersecurity is where I would look for. And also you have other organizations that you have to actually apply to get into them, such things that are like InfraGard, for example, right? But that deals with the FBI, so you got to do a background check, which is there's information there that will be shared to that selective group. So there is that. You also have things such as what happened at Region 1 in SPI of last week, which is going to be the technology conference, right? Seeing upcoming technologies being brought into, um, I guess, down here in the valley or overall, right? What is being created, what softwares are being designed, how is hardware changing, and asking those questions in person, right? There's an event coming up on the 31st in STC called B-Sides, and that's another type of event in which you could actually get more involved with upcoming technologies or possibly even understanding about new involving cybersecurity threats and how they may be changing in the next couple of.
Wow. I mean, who would have thought that there's cybersecurity events here in the Valley? Is that prevalent? Should people more know about that? That there is kind of conferences here in the Valley, in the Rio
In
Grande
other
Valley?
words, is it me? Sorry, repeat your question. I think I lost connection there.
Oh no, yes, no. Is cybersecurity conferences here common in the Valley? Is there a lot going on here or not really?
Surprisingly, there is cybersecurity conferences that do happen. Typically, there's about three of them, right? So you have the Region 1 conference, which is a technology conference that doesn't really target cybersecurity alone. It targets more broader than just cybersecurity. So you have that conference. You do have STC's conferences, which they have multiple, right? They have like a technology conference, they have hackathons, they do have the B-Sides events. So take advantage of those. As per what dates those are, they do fluctuate around the year. In this case, B-Sides will be in May as well. And that one's on the 31st at the Pecan campus. Hackathons, they typically happen on Pecan as well. What days, I don't know. Technology conference also happen there as well. And you also have Region One's Cybersecurity Summit that happens in, well, Cybersecurity Month, right? Which is October. Days, the date does fluctuate, so I don't know the exact date will be, what day would be on. So there is a cybersecurity a conference that is just surrounded the world of cybersecurity, which is a great conference in my perspective. Different vendors come show up, and they're also local presenters and also presenters from external, right? Like outside the state, or maybe even in San Antonio, Austin, they come down here and they present, right? So that one's really probably the best one to go to, just because it's a bigger conference here in October in Region One's area in Edinburg. And it's just a great conference to go to where you are able to, again, just absorb all this cybersecurity knowledge and information. And I think that's the what I know. I think City of FAR might be doing some stuff every now and then. They do some conferences. I haven't heard them done it recently, but I did hear there was one there where there were some technology vendors. I think that happened maybe about 1 or 2 years ago. Hopefully, they do it again. I know DHR has a conference as well, so I don't know when that one happens, but that one is regarding health ISAC. So you're talking about the health industry and the perspective of cybersecurity and the different things happening there. So that one's also a great one. So there is quite a bit out there. You just have to look for it, right? And one, again, going back to LinkedIn, right? It's a great source to look into where, again, you start reaching out to people. Hopefully, you could just follow them. And if they add you back, fantastic. But if you follow them, you can see what they post, right? Upcoming events, upcoming conferences here locally, right? So there's quite a bit out here, actually, for cybersecurity.
Thank you, Jaime. Thank you for that. So, and my last and final question before we wrap things up. What are some of the most common types of attacks you deal with in your professional capacity? For example, phishing, malware, ransomware. Can you give us a little bit of insight?
Now, I can't tell you exactly like an ex real example, unfortunately, due to compliance and being confidential for the employers, right? I can't tell you exactly where things happen, but throughout my professional capacity, I have seen a little bit of everything, phishing, malware, ransomware, and it does happen to all companies, unfortunately, where we're always being attacked, we're always being observed, we're always being seen as an opportunity to be taken advantage of, usually for financial gain, right? Where they want to take advantage of the fact that these small companies may not have cybersecurity professionals on hand. Therefore, it's very highly that they could be taken advantage of. And again, ransomware is one of those biggest things, and I think you've probably seen it in the news here locally. I won't give you any examples to protect reputation of those companies here locally, but ransomware, it's a nightmare to deal with. Phishing, again, it goes back to the idea that some of these attacks happen through the form of phishing coming through email, and which leads to the malware, which leads to the ransomware. And yes, you could safeguard your email with many different applications or services, right? Where if you have Microsoft or any other vendor that deals with emails, right? You can protect it. But imagine if that person, right, goes into their personal email, whether it be Gmail, Yahoo, Proton Mail, or etc., right? They pivot outside of the scope of their work email, go to the personal email. There's no protection there. There's no safeguards, or there's no administrative work being done there because you have no control. So all emails are coming through, and if you're lucky, it might get sent to the spam inbox, right, or the trash bin. But so I know I'm kind of going. I'm telling you how things happen here. I can't give you an exact example, unfortunately. Again, protecting reputation and things that I just can't talk about. But from my professional capacity, I have seen a little bit of everything: phishing, malware, ransomware, remote access Trojans that can actually export data outside of your organization, right? So those are called rats. Um, I've seen a little bit of everything, unfortunately, and it's a very crazy world we live in where people are trying to take advantage of small corporations or even big corporations, right? Because of course, bigger corporations typically have more financial or money present within them. So they become a bigger target, right? But also the small targets are not looked away at any point because they're smaller. So you can imagine a small organization that I won't say numbers here, but let's say it's 50 small organizations that have little to no security, but that dollar amount at the end of the day equals to the same dollar amount as they would have done if they targeted a big organization with a large amount of security. So are we going to go the route of having more headaches and more walls that they have to jump over, or little to no walls and attack a smaller one? It's very unfortunate, right? But I could go on and on, right? But I have seen a little bit of everything. I just can't tell you an exact example where things have happened.
No, I appreciate it, Jaime. And like you said, we don't want to ruin the reputation of any companies here in the Valley. So that concludes our interview. Do you want to share or let people know what you're up to? Maybe you have like a small business or something you want to plug in at the end of it, or where they can find you on social media if you have any.
Yeah, I mean, they could find me on LinkedIn. I am there on LinkedIn. I believe my LinkedIn will be. Let me take a look here, how it looks. Apologies. It's called Jaime Cortez, comma, space CISSP is the name that I have on my account. They can find me there on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find. Find the person with all the certs on below their name. That's me, most likely. Right now, in terms of like a new update from myself, I've been relaxing a little bit recently. I took on the CISP, and which was a monster of an exam, in my opinion. It's the gold standard, people call it, for cybersecurity certifications, and now I'm just taking a break. I am looking towards a certification called the CISM, Certified Information Security Manager is what I'm looking towards. I'm not rushing it right now. I do have to watch some videos that way I could get the CPE credits to renew my CISP. But that's currently what I'm up to. As for a small business, not really. No, I don't have no small business of my own right now to shout out or anything like that. But yeah, I mean they can find me there. Not Facebook because I will decline people. But they can find me on LinkedIn, which is they could follow me there, and if I choose to, I will accept people there, right? And I do. People reach out to me for guidance or where they should start, which I typically do reply. So if you need some help, need some advice in regards to how to start a certification, what are some resources that are available out there, whether it be free or paid or subscription based, right? What's out there? Because there is a lot of information out there. You just got to know where to find it. And if someone needs any help regards to that, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will do my best to provide some guidance or because I have had several people call me on LinkedIn, not call me directly. They give me their number, and I might call them back, or just send me a message on LinkedIn, and I will provide as much support. But right now I'm taking a little break. I'm not really rushing my certifications path right now. I do have one in mind of where I want to pursue. Then I have another one after that. Then from there I might go take on my master's degree and go back to get my master's. But it just takes time. Just a little bit of word of advice, right? Certifications is great. It's fantastic. Degrees are fantastic. When it comes to degrees, it helps you actually fulfill a requirement for a future employer. And when it comes to certifications, it just gets you most likely that interview, right? But certifications, this is what I'll tell everyone here. Don't do what I did, is taking certification after certification after certification every other month, right? It does take a burden on you. So enjoy your life, is what I'm trying to say. Enjoy your life. Take your time with certifications. Don't rush it. If you think you're not ready for an exam or a certification, um, just read again, find out what you don't know, and I tell this to people, don't care for what you know regards to a certification. Care for what you don't know. That way you can understand what you need to develop your skills or knowledge, right? And that typically works quite a bit for a lot of people that I give advice to. So that's what I'll say there. I'll leave that there. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will provide help when I do have time. And Yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to right now.
Thank you very much, Jaime. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time and kind of giving some information to the public. I know we really need this, and I won't take you more of your time. And like Jaime said, you can follow him on LinkedIn. So thank you, Jaime. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And
Of course.
it's been a fun watch to see you on LinkedIn and how you've grown and your certification. So thank you for the interview.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Anytime.
Okay, thank you, Jaime.
All right, Gio. We'll talk later. Bye.